We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to your live boxing ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to your live. Jaron Boots Ennis unifies the welterweight division, knocking out an undefeated fighter, Mantis Stanionis. What really happened? In this video, your boy Ego is going to take you through it and let you know what really happened in the fight. Now, full disclosure, I like to be transparent. What really happened is Jaron Boots Ennis taxed that on Stanionis. So as far as a breakdown, there's not too much. There's not too much to break down. In fact, I gave Boots virtually every round. I think there was like one round where, like, here's the thing. It was one of the type of fights where you could have Boots as a shutout. That's perfectly fine. But there were maybe one or two rounds early in the fight where it could have been, you know, you could see a judge giving Stanionis possibly the round. But Stanionis, some of the things he was doing was not conducive to him beating Jaron Boots Ennis, we'll just say. And I'll break that down in this video. When it comes to scoring rounds, some people don't know how to score boxing, but your boy Ego does. You got loud rounds. This is what I call them. Loud rounds and quiet rounds, where somebody can win a quiet round and then somebody else in round 9 can have a loud round. So people start looking at the loud round and then forgetting about some of the quiet rounds, if you will. So for me, I'm not going to nitpick. It ended in a stoppage. His team or him, I don't even know if I could put, I want to say he quit. It looked like he quit, Stanionis, and he refused to come out after the 7th. But out of respect, I can't really say he quit because they weren't mic'd up enough. And his trainer, Marvin Samodio, who works with Freddie Roach and, you know, came up in the wild card gym, I don't really know what he said because he kind of leaned in and whispered some stuff. But I will say, body language wise, you didn't really see too much pushback or complaints from Stanionis. He knew he was in there getting whooped and he was getting hurt in the, specifically the round before the actual stoppage, which would have been round 6. So there wasn't much protest. No, some people are gonna say he quit. Again, for me, I'm gonna give him a little bit of respect because I don't know what was said in the corner. Like, there's other fights, like I want to say David Benavidez versus Demetrius Andrade. They asked Demetrius Andrade, do you want to continue? And he basically said no. So it's like a thin line when the fighter is the one kind of pushing for it to be over versus the team. And with this given situation, I don't know if Stanionis was the initiator or if Marvin Samodia is like, hey, I'm stopping this. I've seen enough. You know, you're not winning. You can't beat this guy. Blah, blah, blah. So that's how that played out. Overall, it was a spectacular performance by Jaron Boots Ennis. Very masterful. And I also feel with the point of his career, given the name of Stanionis, given that it was a unification, it looks like he pulled out all the stops and he was surely ready for it. And I think the timing is perfect because his last fight left more to be desired. The Karen Chukazian fight, people didn't even want to see him rematch that dude, but it was his mandatory. And then he did kind of worse than he did in the first fight because the first fight, it wasn't really competitive and he hurt Chukazian and it was, you gave him pretty much every round. But in the second fight, Chukazian was landing big shots and had definite moments in the fight. And although he lost, he still made it more competitive. So for me, this was a much needed performance from Jaron Boots Ennis. You also have to factor in the fact that just before this fight was announced, Jaron Boots Ennis was allegedly in talks to fight Virgil Ortiz at 154. And then he says there was miscommunications that led to the fight not happening. Turkey said, and if Jaron Ennis disputes this, see, this is one thing I gotta address, because Boots Ennis, he did some interviews and he was like, oh man, y'all saying I'm ducking. A lot of people on YouTube, they don't know what they're talking about. And a lot of fans, they were saying I'm ducking. Duck what? Why would I duck? Blah, 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 right? Fine. But this is the funny thing about these fighters. They'll call out the boxing media. They'll call out the fans. They'll call out YouTubers and say, oh, why would y'all say I'm ducking? But then they never call out the promoter. They never call out the advisor, right? And I just find that funny, because it's like, why you guys smoke for YouTubers and boxing media and fans who look at the situation like Boots, Virgil Ortiz, you and your side, whether it was you specifically or your team, elected to go another route, period. And then you had people like Turkey Al-Sheikh, who came out and told the whole world that Boots Ennis gave us his word that he was down for this fight, and then he changed his mind. Turkey said that. And not once have I heard Bozy or Boots go and say, hey, Turkey was, misspoke or whatnot. So I do find that funny. The fighters be quick to call out, boxing media and YouTubers and fans, but then they're not saying nothing to Turkey. And he's the one literally in print. I got the quote, made videos about it. And he says that Jaron Ennis gave us his word and then he changed his mind. So of course it looks like a duck. So I don't want to get too sidetracked, but it's just something to note. He needed this. What he did last night, he needed it, in my opinion. And he got it. So salute to Jaron Ennis. He looked sharp. Round one, he came out confident. He came out, the thing that I do like about Boots is he does look like he's having fun in there when he's fighting. Like, even to the point where there's moments for me, because I'm not him, so I don't know what he's thinking. And there's moments where it's like, I wouldn't play around so much. I wouldn't showboat so much. But he's a fighter. It's his fight. He's doing what he feels comfortable doing. And to each his own, it worked out for him. So he was in there and he was like showboating, taunting, and, like kind of dancing and doing little things. And it just worked. Everything checked out. Everything clicked. For me, this is Boots' most important win, because it was a unification. Because people, the haters, they're going to be like, oh, he's an email champion. Now he fought an undefeated guy who looked like he was in diesel shape, brolic, comes to fight, undefeated, has some good wins, and he beat him. He actually beat a champion. So like I keep saying, Boots Ennis really needed this, and he delivered and he got it. He looked calm. He looked comfortable. Virtually pitched a shutout. He was having fun in there. It really looked like vintage Boots, when he was on Showtime and, fighting lesser guys. To be honest, he made this fight look relatively easy. He made it look pretty easy. Now, I do think Stanionis had moments. And if you listen to my Box Ego watch party, I was talking about that. Stanionis, he was doing some good stuff. He was like, it wasn't like Stanionis didn't do anything. However, you were being outgunned and outworked by Boots Ennis. So what do I mean? For every one shot that Stanionis would land, Boots would land like 3. So he was just more active. I think Boots was far more active. I don't think he was. He was more active and he just took control. I think the best thing that I liked from Boots here was he took all the criticism. He stayed composed. He had fun with it. But in terms of technically, his footwork, that's it. Footwork. That's what really made the difference here. And then a close runner-up would be his hand speed. His footwork was on point, especially early in the fight. Now, he was aggressive and he was throwing a lot, but in the first few rounds, I want to say Boots utilized the ring, and maybe even a little bit too much. But again, I'm not going to nitpick because it all worked out for him. So you can go, you watch tape, clean up. You know, winning is important. That's really what it is. And you can fine tune the other stuff. You just don't want to get knocked out and then be like, oh, where did I go wrong? So I like the footwork from Boots. That's most importantly, that's what I noticed. The foot speed, the footwork, he was using the ring, and then he's explosive and athletic, and he would just like stop on a dime and just let off combos, and then he would take a lap, things like that. So educated footwork. He looked like he knew where he was at all points of the fight in terms of just controlling the distance and the ring generalship. That was on point for Boots. His jab, very good. Now, it's funny because Stanionis normally has a very good jab, but when you introduce black fighters, a lot of times, an American style, they have a different, it's just real rhythmic, things like that. And when you start introducing explosiveness, the power of Boots, athleticism, plus the jab, plus the footwork, that's what gave Stanionis all of the problems in the world. And that was just a bridge too far for Stanionis. Again, he was doing some good work in there, and he was doing some solid things. Boots did get hit with some flush shots, but he took them well. Looks like Boots' chin has held up. But just being fair, Boots does get hit flush sometimes. It just, Stanionis' power was manageable for Boots, and he took it well, and he just dished out a whole lot more. And little by little, he started breaking down Stanionis. The first few rounds, like the first 3 rounds, were still competitive, but it got to a point, I want to say in round 4 or 5, where Boots started to get aggressive, stand his ground. And then there were moments where Stanionis was trying to stand his ground and he was doing good, but there was a moment, I don't even remember what round it was, but they both traded hooks and it looked like Boots got the better of it. But Stanionis landed a nice one too. So Boots, he's just too explosive. He was too big, and it just gave Stanionis all the problems. Styles make fights. The hand speed, the footwork, the power, the explosiveness, and the speed of Boots, just, it was too much for Stanionis, you know? And I think Stanionis' game plan kind of sucked, if I'm being honest. Game plan was, to beat a guy like Boots, from what I'm seeing, you got to get respect. You got to get respect. So the more, like, if you have power, if you have speed, if you have elite timing, these things would definitely be good for you. But you got to get the kid's respect because he knows what he wants to do, and it's up to you to discourage him from trying to do what he wants to do. And if you can't do that, then you're going to have a long night, probably get stopped by him. So Boots, he enters this fight. Some people still had questions, and I think with this performance, you're only as good as your last performance in the world of boxing. He answered all those questions. So congratulations to Jaron Boots Ennis. Spectacular work, very masterful stuff. Jab on point, footwork on point, speed. I mean, we already knew he had power, and he just put it all together against the champion. And Boots did say this in the past. He said, the greater the competition, you know, the more I'm gonna lock in, and you guys will get to see different sides of me. And this was, it was a good, I can't say it was a good fight because it really wasn't. It wasn't a great fight. It was more a great performance than a great fight. Stanionis, he tried, he was valiant, but he just wasn't doing enough overall to win the rounds. Like, he was doing good work, but like what Stanionis was doing would be good if Boots was fighting at a slower pace. But the pace that Boots was fighting at, you were not going to win like that. You know what I mean? And he was he was too slow, and he needed time to think and set up, and Boots wasn't giving him that. So for me, the game plan from Stanionis and team, all wrong. You knew you weren't faster than Boots. You knew he hits hard, and he did incorporate other things like the footwork. And it didn't seem like Stanionis had a true plan for that. Of like he got away from his jab. He wasn't jab. I felt like Boots was jabbing more consistently, and experience, these type of things actually matter. So it's gonna take a lot to beat Boots. To me, Boots is the number one guy at welterweight. I've said that for a while, pretty much since Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford left the division. It's now Boots' division, and it's gonna be hard to beat. It's gonna be hard to beat him. Now, it's funny because I'm the best in the business, and it's not even close. So I stay on point. Now, I put out videos that I thought Jaron Ennis had a tough, intense weight cut. Again, nothing changed. Go watch the videos. I still believe his weight cut was a hard one. That's all I said. People, you could take that and then, try to make something else out of it. I never gave a fight prediction for this fight. I think he had a tough weight cut. I think he's a big welterweight, point blank, period. I made several videos. I articulated myself perfectly in those videos. And despite the outcome, nothing has changed. If you listen, I know what I say because I'm there when I say it. Go back and listen to the videos. I still believe everything I said regarding he has a hard weight cut. Didn't say he didn't make weight. Didn't say he wasn't professional. Didn't say he was going to lose the fight. I said the weight cut looked like it was pretty hard because he's big and he has a lot of weight to cut, period. If you listen to the video, I also say he's able to do this while he's in his 20s, but when he hits the 30-year-old mark, 30 to about 33, I don't see him necessarily being able to do that. I think he will outgrow the welterweight division, but he's 27, so that's 3 years away. I still believe that. So nothing, I just want to update you. Nothing I've said or put out has changed. I still believe everything. People think when someone says a person had a hard weight cut or there's weight drain, that means they're gonna lose the fight or something. That's not what that means at all. Terrence Crawford, I think he struggled to make the weight for the Errol Spence fight, and he had a great performance. That's what happens with the improvements in medical science and sports science, where these guys hit the number on the scale and then they can reverse it by carbing up and replenishing. You guys got to know your boxing. So I wanted to give the fans an update on the whole Jaron Ennis weight thing. I still think he's a big welterweight, and I still think that cut is hard for him, period. But he's able to replenish, and he did that, and he did it in the right way and put up a great performance versus Stanionis. So don't overcomplicate my work. I know what I say. I'll be responsible for what I say. Hold me accountable for what I say. I don't care because I'm saying it for a reason and I still believe it. So please don't overcomplicate this. But enough of that. Boots Ennis did his thing. He is now the owner of 2 belts, actually 3 if we include the Ring Magazine belt. So he's the man to beat. I still want to see him fight Brian Norman. I will say that is the best fight to me that Boots can have. Just given the fact that Boots, like I said, he's going to be very hard to beat because if he shows up like this, I mean, he's looking pretty complete. And even if you beat, like, you're going to have to walk through something to try to beat him, period. But the thing I like about the Brian Norman fight is he's athletic as well, and he does have a lot of power. So that could be potentially a shootout where the first person who lands could make it interesting. You know what I mean? Definitely could make it interesting. And to be honest, Brian Norman, he just fought the last dude he fought, and he got hit some. And then Boots Ennis, the same thing. He's so aggressive and offensive minded where he's taking these chances and he's getting hit too. So 2 enormous punchers. I would like to see that next. And they sparred before, you know. So but I didn't get to see the sparring. I wasn't there for the sparring, so show me that. So for me, hopefully Eddie Hearn could get that done. That would be the number 1 fight for Boots Ennis at welterweight. You know, there's great fights at 154, but it sounds like he's gonna stay put and he wants to continue, and he says he can still make the weight. So if he's gonna stay at the weight, that's the fight I prefer. Now you guys see why I said I would like the Terrence Crawford fight too. I really would. Terrence Crawford gets hit too. You know what I mean? People act like Bud never gets hit. Boots versus Bud. See, that's what I don't even like the Crawford. I've been very vocal about this. I don't like the Crawford Canelo fight. I would pay for Boots and Bud at 154. I think that's a great fight. Or if Crawford still can make 47, but I don't know if he can. I think that's a great fight. The Canelo fight is just dumb to me. I really don't even like it like that. But enough of that. That's just my opinion. Congratulations to Boots. Philly got one. Showed up, showed out. I don't know what the attendance was or pay-per-view buys, so stay tuned to the channel. I don't know anything financial about this event. I don't think it was promoted great, but hell of a performance by Boots. We unpacked. And that's what really happened.